Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 5 of What If Naruto Rewrote the Past. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was the Ultimate Saiyan over in Anime King 3. And enjoy that guys. And over in Anime King, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto was a prodigy with an unknown bloodline. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy that as well, guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Snazzy was rather skeptical and confused, as Naruto was able to be perfectly fine after being directly hit with a poisonous Jinchuriki tail. His inside should be, well, infected right now, yet he was completely fine. As she was skeptical of all of this, as Naruto was eyeing Orochimaru, the man was rather calm. No way sadistic or crazy, he just seemed calm and he rather seemed nice, considering that he was amused by the thought of Jiraiya and what he was gonna do with his research. And with that, they left the office as Naruto spoke to Harrison about what happened. After that, he made his way, as Mikoto was currently enjoying herself in the hot spring as Kushina arrived. Their back was turned towards the wall just in case, because their perverted sensei was in town, as Mikoto knew that Jiraiya sensei was here, so her back was turned to the wall. As she sat down and spoke to Kushina about the mission, as Kushina was worried, as she didn't tell Naruto that she possessed the 9 tails. The civilians in Konoha did not know about it, but some of the Jonins know, but they didn't really care about it. Most people did not know, so it wasn't really a big news. It was more like a secret. But judging that Naruto knew who the 3-tail container was, perhaps Harrison told him that she was the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. She did not know, she would have talked to him about it. As Jiraiya arrived, they heard Jiraiya speaking to Naruto outside, and Mikoto heard Naruto call her beautiful. She was shocked. Given her stature and everything, and her being the heir to the Uchiha clan, people never got around her that much. And not to mention she had a rather crazy best friend as well. She went home that night. After some thinking, she realized something. As some time passed, the people within Konoha started to arrive from the other villages. As constructions were happening, the Karumi clan came, the Kaguya clan came, and many other clans came within Konoha. As this was giving Naruto name a lot of drive, seeing that he was able to bring these clans here. And Kagami spoke to his daughter as he saw her confliction. She didn't want to get married to Fukaku, and she had feelings for someone else. It was none other than Naruto. She wasn't going to be a little schoolgirl or just jump on him or something like that. She had to sort out her feelings as she spoke to her father one-on-one. Her father gave her many things that made her think deep and long about it. The next day, Kagami showed up at Naruto's office. Yes, he was given an office, seeing that he was in charge of all these new clans coming into Konoha. As the man came, Naruto to speak to him. He was vague at first, but Naruto was easy to put together, as he figured that Mikoto liked him. But there was only one thought running through his mind. That was Sasuke's mother. It ran through his mind a lot when he thought about the situation, as Kagami wasn't really a big fan of Fukaku, it seems, and he wanted his daughter to be happy. As Naruto realized that the man was going along with this. As Naruto thought about the entire thing, and thought about how complex this would make things after all. With him changing things, there would be a difference. It actually wouldn't be the same to kill the Uchiha clan, or it would be someone else he didn't know. He still hadn't spoken to Hokage about that yet. As he pondered about the question in his mind, as he wondered, what should he do? But although the idea was tempting, for the past couple of weeks they have been trained together, and Naruto has noticed her growing, affection with him. It didn't seem like it was there, but given that Kagami put it into perspective, he started to notice some things. As he sat down and looked towards the man who seemed, like he was not bothered by it at all. He agreed with Naruto. So yeah guys, so it's basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the play, check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. Wait, you're supporting this? Said Naruto, as he looked towards Kagami who sat in his office. Of course, it's what my daughter wants. And like I said, I was never a huge fan of Fukaku to begin with. There were simply no better options at the time. As Naruto was thinking what the man said over, his mind was going a mile a minute. Things was already being changed from the clans from Kiri coming to Konoha, because that never happened. If he went in to help Void, the arrangement between Mikoto and Fukaku, thoughts about the future changing once again passed through his mind. The part of him that was male would never reject the idea. From what he knew about Mikoto, she was definitely close to his idea of feminine perfection. Fukaku was a real idiot to not treat her better. Thinking back, he couldn't help but wonder what she was like when he was growing up. There wasn't any memories of her in his mind, other than brief glimpses of her coming to get Sasuke the academy, and some brief glimpses at the military police headquarters. But he couldn't remember anything more than that, and Sasuke never told him anything more than her name. Naruto. As the blonde was snapped from his thoughts. Sorry, he said. I just let my mind wander. About Mikoto. Naruto wasn't sure, but it sounded like Kagami had a teasing tone to his voice. But he didn't know the man well enough to be sure. Sort of. Just thinking about what I know of her from our occasional spars and our chats. It's not much, I'm afraid. Well, you've only been public knowledge for about 2 months, so I don't expect you to know her life story. But you will have some time to get to know her soon. I managed to convince Harrison to dispatch you on a mission with my daughter to get you to the village for some days. Naruto was shocked. How did you manage to pull it off? I didn't think that the old man would want to let me to his site for the near future. Kagami started to laugh. The old man? Harrison? I know he's getting up there, but damn. Does he let you get away with that? Sometimes, said Naruto, as he blushed and looked away. I've known him for so long. He's like the closest thing I have to a dad, so I just called him the old man. Well, that wasn't the complete truth, but it was close enough. Kagami reached into his robes after his laughter settled down. He pulled out a sealed scroll and tossed it towards Naruto, who caught it. It should be simple for one person, and a walk in the park for the 2 of you. It's A rank, but we probably could have given it to a veteran Chunin. A group of militia from Valley Country deserted their posts, and our hunter squads have picked up some rumors that they are hiding along the southern border. Scour the area, and if you find them, wipe them out. They don't know anything of importance, but they need to be made an example to discourage further desertions. Naruto nodded as he opened the scroll and read it. It was the minimum pay for A rank, but he wasn't really hurting for money, so he didn't care too much. The mission itself was gonna be easy. He could probably finish it in a day or two, but the 6 days was a bit over much. Well, this mission was supposed to be sent for a veteran Chunin squad, not someone like him. As he rolled the scroll back up, as he placed it on his desk, as he hummed for a moment. Just out of curiosity, why can't you break the engagement off? Well, mainly because it's too late to do it that way, said Kagami. If it had been a couple of months after the original engagement, Fukaku likely would have been fine with it. But now that they have been seeing each other for such a long time, he sees it as an insult. Believe me, I already tried it through the proper channels, and even went to appeal with him directly, with Mikoto at my side. With only a month till the wedding, he has his right to refuse though. But why do the both of them have to agree, said Naruto? Aren't there ways of breaking the contract, even if there are penalties? Yes, said Kagami, but in this case, all contract breakers were meant to be agreement. There is no way that the contract will break. With the knowledge of one side, both sides have to come together to break it. Fukaku is both stubborn and ambitious. There is no reason for him to break it, and most others will back his choice. But like any contract, there are emergency clauses that can go into effect. when certain conditions are met, such as death, sickness. As he waved his hand showing that there was plenty of things that can happen, until he came towards the last word, infidelity. Naruto's jaw went slack for a moment. His head fell forward and hit the decks. Now, said Kagami, it's not the way you're thinking, and I'm using a very loose interpretation of the word. A simple kiss would break it off. Huh? How is that possible? Said Naruto, as he looked up towards the man. It's part of the way the contract seal works. As long as both of their chakra state are unchanged from the moment that the contract is sealed, it will remain in effect. So both Mikoto and Fukaku have gone nearly a year without doing anything with a member of the opposite sex. As far as I know, Mikoto has never done anything ever. However, I haven't asked her either. It's not my business. Her mother would have killed me. As Naruto chuckled nervously as he looked at the grinning Kagami, as he thought about the man's words. He would have to check out what kind of seal was on that contract. Was it self-updating? How was it even possible? I still don't see how it's possible to have a seal update itself based on internal stimulus, unless... Kagami raised an eyebrow at that. So, you know some things about sealing, he said. Well, Mikoto and Fukaku had to go to the clan chambers to place their chalk in the seal every once a week. Seems like it's rather complicated for something so simple. True, but it's been used by the Uchihas before Konoha existed, so who am I to argue about it now? I'll admit, it's unusual to use a contract like this, but since both of them was of age, well, there was no choice. It was also Mikoto who asked for the 1 year grace period. Fukaku wasn't too eager to wait that long, but he eventually agreed. As Naruto sighed and shook his head, he never understood some clan laws. He had sworn to change the Hyuga practice of the Cageburg seal when he became Hokage, but given this situation that never really panned out. But with the Uchihas, wait, Mikoto is the heir of the clan, right? If she gets with me, what does that mean? Said Naruto. Well, said Kagami with a smirk. Technically, since the Uchihas are not a patriarchal clan, you will be the leader. Of course, there will be elders and advisors and... Naruto cut him off, but I wasn't born an Uchiha, and I don't have the Sharingan. I am a Uzumaki, and as distant relatives of the Senju, I don't think that will go over very well. Kagami gestured for Naruto to calm down. As I was saying, there are elders and advisors in the clan who might not like you at first, but even they will come to understand the sway you have in Konoha, and by extension, Konoha Hokage. You have ears and ear as much as I do, and by the way he's completing difficult assignments and leading teams, I bet on Minato being the next Hokage. So, you will have an advantage with him as well. I always thought that the Uchihas need to be more involved with the village, not removed from it like so many of us consider being. But, if you really want to shake things up, place in my daughter as a matriarch, and let her take charge, said Kagami. Well, as he looked through the window. But Naruto's mind was lost into something. He never knew what happened to Uchiha Kagami when he was growing up. He had never been one to read upon clan history, but he never once heard this man's name came out of anyone's mouth before. Was he forcefully retired? His mind quickly focused back on what Kagami was saying. The fact that Kagami was also talking about the both of them in this way. It made it sound like the both of them getting together was a certainty. He wasn't entirely keen on that, but so far the positives rather outweigh the negatives. He will feel like an ass for a while for pulling one over on Fukaku, but considering how Mikoto has been sharing with him, doing their spars, he wouldn't feel that bad. Still, it will take some getting used to, if they in fact did work out. We'll be there to help you as well, as Kagami's voice came back in, and Mikoto will have an obligation as your wife, to help you as well if you actually want to lead. Regardless, as I said, I see only good things from having you in the clan. As Naruto closed his mouth. Thank you, he said. As Fukaku nodded. He said. As Naruto heard that grunt. It must be a genetic thing. After all, it was passed down through the family. Time skip. Thankfully, not much happened that day. There was only a brief visit from Minato. He wanted a final touch to put on his Harashin, and he needed Naruto to be a guinea pig. Of course, Naruto was happy to oblige. He did use his father jutsu briefly in the future, but he always wanted to see his father use it in action. He actually didn't see Mikoto until night came, before they should leave on the mission. And even then she did not look him in the eye. She was blushing slightly. It was likely that Kagami told her what she had to do if she wanted to break things off with Fukaku. While Naruto wasn't sure how Kagami had explained things to her, he knew that he wouldn't have a problem giving Mikoto a kiss. She was a gorgeous young woman. Of that there was absolutely no doubt. His only awkwardness came from the fact that he didn't know if Kagami told her that he knew what was necessary to be done, that he had to have his residual chakra on her, on some matter, some way. She barely made plans to meet up tomorrow at the gate before she fled quickly. As Naruto chuckles, he found it a bit amusing, as he sent a message to Harrison that he'll be leaving tomorrow morning, as he went home to crash. The next day, the morning had passed by rather uneventfully. As they went to the southern border, the both of them had been completely silent for the entire trip, plus the arrival. Mikoto had gone in to get reservations at the inn at the small border town, asking for a single room with one bed. She had refused to say anything else about it, as Naruto kept quiet until they were going to actually use the room. Their first day of searching for the deserters found them nothing at all, except for a few people saying that they sight here and there, but they couldn't give them an exact location. Once they had a good lead on their location, Naruto used Sage Mode to find them quickly. It wasn't until she asked that they should give her for the day, and went back to the room when she started talking. Their first real talk was when he saw the eyes. Her eyes to be exact. Her Sharingan is activated. She had likely been scanning the area for genjutsus, residual chakra, or traps or anything that new ninjas were known to use. What she said, as her eyes returned back to normal, as she caught him staring. It was the sun behind her. It was just going down the horizon, and the light originated from her, gave her this majestic view. Instead of telling her that though, he came up with something different. I'm just not used to seeing your Sharingan active. You've never used it in one of first bars. That's all. Do you have a problem? With the Sharingan I mean, she asked him. As Naruto had to bite his tongue for the first thought that came in his mind, as he thought about the Sharingan. I don't have a problem with the Sharingan at all, he said. Only with some people that I use it, the way they shouldn't have. Oh, I see. He could hear the tone in her voice and look on her face she really didn't understand. It was gonna be hard to explain certain things to her. The rest of the way back to the inn was really silent, as they didn't speak a single word until Naruto was gonna go and take a shower. As she returned, in her normal uniform minusing the gear, and her vest and her footwear. After his shower he had minus, in the same way, with his top and bottom. As he was wearing his gear or his footwear, their next spoken words wasn't until he was about to get comfortable on the floor, as she was on one side of the bed. But Naruto wasn't going to presume. Naruto? He said. Do you not like me that much, she asked. What? Of course not, said Naruto. Where did that come from? She shifted on the bed, as she propped herself up on her elbow as she looked at him. He hadn't laid down completely yet, so he was still up and down. My father hinted that the two of you had talked about me, but he did not tell me much. I'm wondering if you're trying to avoid me, she said. Naruto rose to his feet. I'm not avoiding you at all. I'm just trying to remain professional and not overstep any boundaries, at least until you want to change them. She looked surprised as she dropped back to the bed, as she buried her face in the pillow, as Naruto stood there to see if she would move or say anything further. She didn't, however. After a minute of standing there, he moved onto the bed. The bed itself was full size. It could fit two people comfortably. She felt his weight shift on the bed. It was strange for him not to feel nervous in any way. If it was 2 or 3 years ago, he would feel nervous. But now he was calm. He found it rather amusing, given the way that she was acting. But considering that Fukaku was the only person that she has been with, and given his rather, stern attitude, he could understand. As he realized that even though she wanted out, he was the one that is gonna have to take initiative. Thinking of that as she slowly turned to look at him, he tossed her a smile. Is this better, he said, as she turned her head back to the pillow and nodded a bit, as he rolled in the bed until he was looking up in the ceiling. So, you really don't want to get married? We've talked about this a little before, but you never really sound against it. He heard her breathing itch for a second as she shifted, as she leaned on her side looking at him. I do want to get married, she said, just not to the person I have a contract with. Fukaku, said Naruto. There was a moment of silence. Yes, Fukaku. As Naruto closed his eyes, he never knew that Sasuke's parents got together because of circumstances. It wasn't any mutual attraction. No, something, or rather someone has come along that you think is a better choice. So far anyway. As she was silent for a long moment before, there was a quiet yes. He rolled onto his side as she looked directly in his eyes. He couldn't tell if she was blushing or not, the room was too dark, and she didn't look away though. There's a lot about me that you don't know, more than meet the eye. For all you know, I only existed starting 3 months ago. She didn't say anything at first as she just looked at him. As she took a breath, she seemed to regain her confidence. I found out that I started to admire you, only after knowing you for a couple of weeks. Maybe part of that was because of Kushner. She couldn't stop talking about you, and I found myself getting curious. So I invited you to sparring practice. I figured you had to be good if you go toe to toe with Minato. Then that day, I heard what you said to Jiraiya Sensei. Naruto blinked. She heard that? As he moved his hand to smack against his forehead, only for her to grab his hand and hold on to it, as she entwined her fingers with his. Do you remember what you said to him? Well, that he was a pervert and he shouldn't be doing that. She laughed lightly at that, a small smile on her features, as she shook her head. He was a sensei of my genin team. We were never able to break him from the habit. I don't know if anyone else could. No, you said something else to him, as Naruto knew what she was fishing for. I said that you were beautiful. She looked at him, as a smile larger than what he has ever seen appear on her face. Yes, no one other than my father has ever said that to me before. As Naruto wondered if every guy here was blind or something. She was gorgeous. Men are idiots, he said, as she pulled his hand forward and cuddled it under her chin. Mikoto-chan, he said. He had to admit she looked adorable right now. She was glowing with happiness. If nothing else, that pretty much sealed the deal in his mind. Over the next few days while we're doing this mission, we'll get to know each other better. Likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, that sort of thing. He knew that someday Kakashi introduction questions will come in handy. If you decide that you want to go through this when we're done, I'll help you break your contract, he said. She looked him in the eyes, as she clutched onto his hand a bit tighter. Promise, she said. I promise, said Naruto. Flashback. Naruto, Kakashi, come here. As Darue called over the two, Naruto had to cover his face as Darue was wiping the wall, clearing the dust. What is it, said Naruto. They were in the ruins of Usa. They weren't too sure, but the Tsuchikage had mentioned some incomplete scroll that looked like a very transmission, powerful jutsu of sorts. The three of them had come to the village to try to find some clue of it or what. Yeah, look, Kakashi opened the scroll. I think the script on it matches the same on the wall. Kakashi pulled the scroll out of the holder on his back as he opened it up. As he pressed up against the walls, the three of them compared, as they looked to see if it was a match. The scroll itself, it was a technique of transportation, but it required a lot of power. But exactly what it did was what they were trying to find out right now. As Naruto started to move down to examine the rest of the wall, the pictures of the walls were in a series, and in each series there was one person in the middle. He wasn't completely sure, but the person was getting older as he watched as it grew and grew and grew until the person was using a cane. Hey Kakashi, said Naruto, as Kakashi was down with Darue, as he went to examine something else. What is it, said Kakashi as he called back. What kind of technique do you think this was? A space and time one, from the couple of scripts that I saw. That's how you transport things anyway. Why? Because part of the Hirishin seal is on the wall here, said Naruto. Kakashi and Darue came back, as Naruto pointed out where the seal was, over in the painting. It was right under the person. He was too busy paying attention to the person and not the script underneath him. Something I don't understand though. I only recognize the movement part of the seal. All the Hirishin does is move you forward to my destination and then barely a second back in time. So it seems like I'm moving instantly. But this one, there's a lot more to it, said Naruto, as he explained about the person in the center and how they change in the pictures. As it took Darue a moment to piece together based on Naruto's explanation. It's time travel, he said. But it looked like the purpose to take a large leap back in time. The person in the middle stayed the same self the entire time. It's just that he moved off to the side as he observed a younger self in the past. As Darue stepped back as he examined the whole thing. Kakashi, look, didn't we see a pattern like this in the room back there. Kakashi examined the image. Yes, he said. Each of the people is standing in the circle in the other room. Why do they have to stand there? Said Naruto. I'm not certain, but it seems that the others are trying to power the seal in the middle. I don't know if you feel a pull, Naruto, but Minato Sensei always said the larger distance he had to travel, the greater pull he felt on his chakra. As Kakashi brushed some dust off, it seems the further back you want to travel, the more chakra it will take. As Naruto scratched at his stomach, as he looked towards the figure in the center, he stood completely still, as his eyes glazed over, as he looked towards the other two. Hey, Cram, I want to know, how far do you think we can go back if we use the chakra for bijuu? As both Leroy and Kakashi looked at each other, as Kakashi answered, perhaps a few years, he said. In the flashback, the remaining few days of the assignment was uneventful. At least, the moments they found, the group of Newtonin, wasn't counted. The only real excitement was when Naruto found a bunch of bandits. As he cricked a couple of clones as Mikoto saw him use a collaboration of wind and water, as that got her thinking about mixing her affinity with fire with his wind. The two of them learned that the great breakthrough and the phoenix flower technique when mixed was quite the display. Most of their days spent searching for their objective, but Mikoto keep on insisting that they return to the inn earlier and earlier each time. And Naruto didn't complain either. She was a very interesting person, and not to mention she had many stories that involved Kushina and the things that they did to try and stop getting Jiraiya to be a pervert. He desperately wanted to share some of the stories with her, but everything that he wanted to tell her was classified at the moment. As it was, he was conflicted about telling her certain things about himself, as he didn't want her to dislike or like him for the wrong reasons. In this point of their friendship, he was able to use hate mode to pinpoint the location of the new names. He explained it well enough to not give away too much, as he had to say that it was a special sensory technique, but she didn't look too convinced. He managed to escape any more questions by promising to explain it in detail once they were not on a mission. With everything that would happen when they returned back to Konoha, he was counting that she forgot about it, until he was ready to tell her everything. He was happy that she didn't have her Sharingan activated when he was using it, or she would see the fluctuation in his chakra. Their second night in the room was nearly a repeat of the first. As he climbed into bed, she started the conversation, as she asked him how he felt about the clan life. Being honest, he pretty much told her that, well, concerned that the Uzumaki clan was gone when he found out about it, he didn't really know much. She told him that she would teach him everything, if he was willing to learn. He jokingly asked if that was a proposal, but she didn't say anything else for that night. She just held on to his hand, as she fell asleep. The third night was her asking about some of his missions with the Hokage. He stressed that he couldn't tell certain information, but he did venture into some of them. Well, that were not real, that were not from this time, as he had to twist the whole truth until he tell her everything, assuming that they got to that point. For now, she seemed to accept what she heard, as Naruto stopped musing about the past couple of days. As he finished with his shower, they got closer, but not that much closer. Relationships don't just form out of a vacuum, but they made large jumps of getting to know each other. As he shut off the water, it was still hard not to think about her as Sasuke and Itachi's mom. At least as the days were passing by, that thought popped into his head less and less. After getting dried off and dressed, he pondered what they would discuss during his last night here. They had found their targets yesterday, and Naruto had several clones keeping watch just in case they move. Their plan was to take them out on the way back home tomorrow. As he wondered how people would react once they found out about their broken engagement, hopefully it wouldn't get blown out of proportion. But knowing the village, it was likely to happen. As Naruto opened the door, she was right there waiting for him. She was not wearing her shinobi clothing. She was actually wearing something that looked like sleepwear. Dark, loose pants and a button-down shirt. How does it look? She said. As Naruto gave her a grin. Very nice, he said. I'm flattered that you let me see you wearing that. As she blushed, as she looked away, as she fidgeted ever so slightly, but she did not say anything further. She grabbed at the lower hem of her shirt as she twisted around. As Naruto realized that she had no idea of what to expect, given that she was never in a relationship before. In a short, painful twist, he was reminded of Hinata, who he found out that had liked him for a long time. But he was, well, not a sympathetic figure to tell her what to do about it. She almost had to get herself killed to work up the courage to tell him. That was not one of his better memories about her. In a strange twist, a part of him wanted to blame his mother for finding his father so early and being happy with her own life to pay attention to her friend. But that would be very unfair. By the time that she would understand that Mikoto was not happy with her life and her marriage, it would be too late. Besides that, she has been through enough. Kidnapping, rough childhood, and loss of Uzu. Add being a Jinjoki on top of that, it was highly likely that his mother was just focusing on the good things in life right now, so she wouldn't see the smaller details of Mikoto being very unhappy with her life. As Naruto stepped forward, as that startled her a bit. As he was taller than her. Mikoto-chan, he said. She said, as he extended his hand. Take my hand, he said, and sit with me. Let's talk for a bit. As Naruto's heartbeat started to increase as he thought how much the future might change in these next few minutes. She took his hand rather quickly. She probably thought that he was going to pull her towards the bed, but when they passed it, and they went over towards a chair, as he sat down in the chair in the room. Luckily, it was a larger one and it was comfortable, a bit low to the ground though. He pulled her down towards his lap to sit sideways. She let out a brief yelp, as she was looking everywhere but him. She had released his hand, but he wrapped his arm around her waist as she tried to scramble away. Mikoto-chan, calm down, please, said Naruto. As she started to calm down eventually and settle down, she didn't relax though, as she felt a bit rigid. Even when he tried to look at her, she settled for looking away. What's wrong? You're acting not like the woman I remember. The one I went hunting for new names with. The one I spar with. I didn't want to startle you, but I want our talk to have some meaning. I'm sorry if I scared you. If you want get up, we can talk some other time, he said. She stopped moving. I'm just not used to this, she said. Her voice was soft, he could barely hear it, but it was there. Being this close to a man. She shook her head. Being this close to anyone? She shook her head once again. Intimacy? Yes, intimacy, she said. I've never been intimate with anyone. I'm not scared, it's just nervous, maybe. Other than my parents and Kushina, I've never gotten close to anyone. As Naruto frowned, just what kind of environment was it like growing up with the Uchihas? As it made it sound like she was scared to get close to anyone, physically and emotionally. That must suck. She always spoke like she was close to her father. Perhaps it was more of a respect. Yes, the man did care for her a lot, Naruto could see that, just from the way he talked and spoke about her. As for Kushina, his mother was one of those touchy female types, and she was a female, so it wasn't a problem for Mikoto, it seems. As he relaxed his grip, as she did not move, as one of his arms rubbed her arm. We can relax like this until they're comfortable then. She nodded slowly. They sat like that, with him rubbing her arm for a few minutes. Eventually, she even leaned back against his chest slightly. Naruto was a bit surprised, but he chose not to comment. He didn't want to ruin her comfortable level with any jokes at all. When he saw that she was calm, he decided to speak. What I was planning to talk about might be difficult if you're uncomfortable. If you want to just call it a night, and we can wake up early tomorrow, he said. No. I want to talk to you, she said. About anything, everything. Okay, said Naruto. I guess I'll start then. Does Fukaku treat you well? He knew it was a big bomb to drop, but he wanted to see the boundaries of the conversation. As Mikoto turned towards him, she looked confused more than anything else. I don't understand what you mean. He treated me as one should treat heir to the clan. Naruto shook his head. Do you want to be treated like the heir? Or do you want to be treated like a woman? As Uchiha Mikoto. Not as an object or title, but an actual human being, with her own wants and desires. When she looked away and didn't reply, he continued. The first time I saw you with him, it was when I was gonna call you for the Kiri mission. He looked bored and you looked sad. I was gonna ask you if you want to go and do something after that, but I figured it wasn't my place. But what I know now, I guess I probably should have taken a chance, huh? He said, making a half joke. But she smiled. I don't think it would have changed anything, honestly. At least not then, she said. But I would have appreciated the offer, I'm sure about it. As Naruto leaned back fully, she mustered up her courage as she leaned back on him completely. Then, surprising him, she leaned her head forward as it rested on his jaw. He grabbed one of her hands with his and wrapped his arm around the back of her waist. She didn't stiffen this time as she held back his hand with the same grip strength. So, Mikoto-chan, what is it that you're looking for? What do you mean, she asked. What are you looking for in the person that you want to marry? She was quiet for a moment, before she asked, does that really matter? Of course it matters, said Naruto. How else do you expect to be happy? As she was silent for a few seconds before she spoke. I never really thought about it before. I always grew up and I knew what I might have to expect. Had my mother lived longer, I might have had a sibling that could have taken up the leadership position of the clan. But since she did not, the responsibility fell on me to find someone worthwhile to wed. I can say now that it wasn't something I exactly wanted, but as a Uchiha, responsibilities has to be upheld. Well, said Naruto, just forget about that for now. I'm sure that when you were a young girl, you have dreams, right? Well, I hardly think those matter now, she said. I think they're important, said Naruto. Right now, they should matter to you. Tell me, do you ever have those dreams about a prince coming to rescue you, he asked. His tone was teasing as she picked up on that, as she chuckled a bit. No, there was never a prince. Or anyone really. I did not need rescuing, I would be happy. With someone who didn't treat me like a trophy. And want children. I didn't know what having children meant at first. But even after I knew, I realized I wanted my own. How many? Said Naruto. She shifted against him as she answered. 3. 2 boys and a girl, she said, as she shifted more in a comfortable position. Any particular order, he said. The boys first, she said. They could lead the clan together. Then a girl, so I can dote on her. And she wouldn't have to grow up like I did. It sounded really close to what happened in his time, as Naruto wondered, why wasn't there a third child? Maybe Kurama appearance and the blame placed on the Uchiha clan mixed with that desire. That's a nice dream, said Naruto. I was an orphan, so I always wanted a big family. Oh? How much, she said. At first, I thought that 2 was a good number. A boy that I could teach all of my killer techniques to, and a girl that I could threaten her boyfriends. Mikoto giggled at that, as Naruto found himself loving the sound. Only 2? That's not very big, even though that's what you said you wanted at first. How about now, she said. Now, said Naruto. 9. Definitely 9. Why would you want 9, she said. I don't know, said Naruto. I always thought it was a nice number. 8 just seemed a bit strange. And 10 seemed a bit too much. 9 is a perfect number, he said. As the both of them laughed at that, she then placed her arm around his neck, as Naruto was surprised. I'm feeling more comfortable now, she said, seeing his look. I've seen other people do this before. So, I'm trying to copy. Didn't need to use the Sharingan for it, huh? Said Naruto. No Sharingan needed, she said, as she laughed. They were quiet for several moments, as what they were talking about settled in their minds, as she then whispered something. I'll give you 5. As his head snapped around. 5? You mean 5? Yes, she said. I've been in pain before, but I heard childbirth is on an entirely different level. Assuming my health holds up, I can promise you 5. But if I can manage, as she gave a teasing smile, perhaps I can give you 9. As Naruto was shocked, as he gave a calm smile. I just like the number 9, he said. That seemed like too much to put you through. I wouldn't expect you to go through with 5 either, he said, really. She took his hand. How much do you really want? Be serious, please, she said. In his mind, Naruto realized that he mixed up the order. Here they were talking about children when they hadn't even kissed yet. A baby was often considered unpredictable, but this was just getting ridiculous. He then remembered something. The thoughts of Sakura and Kurosaki teasing him popped in his mind, and she never came back. He pushed those thoughts away to the back of his head. As many as you be willing to give me, he said. He wasn't sure, but something clicked in her as her entire demeanor changed. Naruto, help me break the contract, she said. Are you completely sure about this? I'm going to warn you again. I have a lot of secrets. Will any of them harm Konoha or the Uchiha clan, she asked. Not in the slightest, said Naruto. But other than that, I can't promise that I'll be the best for the material. I mean, I didn't have any parents to raise me, he said. Having Kushina as a little sister hasn't been easy for these past months either. I mean, can you imagine her as an aunt? I can barely handle her. And on top of that, there is Naruto. Yes? Shut up and kiss me, she said. The rest of that night had ended pleasantly, and it went off in the morning and down into the day. As he rather enjoyed her giggles, she was full of laugh and smiled the entire way back. She only put on the business look once they got back. The hardest thing was to find out that he was immediately summoned back to the office, but a quick hug from him and a few whispering words got her smiling. The visit to the office was a quick one. He reported that he was back and that his missions were successful. There was a nod, as Harrison told him that the skirmishes were picking up, and he should make sure that he was in peak condition. That done, there wasn't much paperwork in his office to take care of, like he was thinking. Either someone helped him out a bit, or there really wasn't a lot while he was gone. By the time he finished all the files on his decks, there was a knock on his door. "Come in," he said. As Minato entered the room, as they both greeted each other, the man sat down and said nothing. As Naruto blinked, "Something you want," he said. Minato seemed hesitant to speak, as he chuckled and rubbed back of his neck. "Yeah, sorry. I was wondering, do you know what's up with Mikoto?" As Naruto placed on the stroll. "What? What happened to her?" said Naruto. "I don't know. I was hoping that you did. Kushina and I were ready to get dinner and she showed up at Kushina's apartment. It looked like she was furious and about to burst into tears. I'm just glad that you're not the cause of it," said Minato. "Do you know where they are now?" said Naruto as he got up. "Well, no idea. They have these spots that they go, where I don't bother looking for them." "Come on, Minato, haven't you been curious? Where's your sense of adventure?" "I'm curious, but not stupid. You haven't seen what Kushina does to those who piss her off." "Fine," said Naruto, "but as our friends, we should be worried for her, right? I think I can use that excuse, just in case Kushina wave her fist at us. I think I'll leave Kagami for a last resort. Perhaps he doesn't even know either," said Naruto. "Fine," said Minato. "But if we get in trouble, I'm blaming you." As Naruto shrugged and waved him off. "So, have you plastered your seals around the village yet?" "Not everywhere. My usual training ground. This building. My apartment. Kushina's place." "Oh, I see," said Naruto. "So Kushina get one and I don't." Minato looked at him. "Jeez, can't take a joke," said Naruto. "I can appreciate jokes. I don't think that it's a good time though." "Yeah, you're right," said Naruto. "It's just a mechanism to handle my worries." As Minato took his hand as they flashed away, they arrived at the entrance of the village. "You think they went outside?" "If possible, if they went to one of the training areas." "How do you want to do this anyway?" "Split up and meet back here, half an hour. I'll send out some clones. They will explore for a bit and come back to me. If they have no luck, we'll go." "Shadow clones. You know how much chakra they use, right?" "Of course I do. They're one of my main techniques," said Naruto. "I haven't had to use them at all lately though." As 20 clones poof into existence, without him even weaving his signs, he had gotten so used to making them, he didn't even have to give them any order. They understood what to do already. "We'll give them about 15 minutes," said Naruto, as Minato was watching the clones with wonder. As he quickly spoke to Naruto, "Could you teach me that?" he said. "I'll teach you some other technique that I'm working on." As Naruto wanted to tell the man that he already knew the Harashin and Rasengan, but he did not say anything. It was hard to really separate this man from the image that he got back in the future of his father, and this 18-year-old in front of him. "You will have to ask the old man about it. Since it's in the Forbidden Scroll, I can't teach you anything in there without permission." "Oh right. That's fair," said Minato. Minato was really agreeable. If they were there when he was growing up, his mother would have worn the pants in the relationship. Well, it seems like she would this time because he would make sure that he will be around. Barely a few minutes passed. "Found them," said Naruto. "Training ground 16, outside the village." Minato was confused how he found them so precisely. "All I can say that is classified right now," said Naruto. "All I can confirm is that I'm a type of sensor." Minato just stared at him, but he was worried about the girls, as he nodded. With that, they made their way. The moment they arrived, the two girls seemed to drop into fighting stances, but they saw who it was. But there was a posture around Kushina, even though she knew that it was them. It seems like she didn't want them to be here right now. "Minato, big brother Naruto, how did you find us?" As Naruto could see Minato pointing at him, he was really placing all the blames on him for real. But Naruto rolled his head. "Sensor," he said. Mikoto still hadn't moved. As Kushina looked at Naruto, "I didn't know sensors could pick out two specific chakra amongst a populated village, big brother." "Kushina-chan, I already told you that both of your chakras feel different from everyone else." The redhead decided to just accept it. What he didn't tell her was that Kurama made her a beacon to him when he used Sage Mode with his clone. But her own individual chakra felt unique as well. It was warmer. It was probably what the Uzumaki's chakra felt like. "As for why we're here," said Naruto as he pointed at Minato, "this guy came dragging me to my office saying that he's worried about Mikoto-chan." As Minato mumbled about something, but Naruto ignored him. "So naturally, I got worried. Seemed like I just came back from a mission with Mikoto-chan, and she was in a good spirit. A part of me was worried what happened, and a part of me was worried if I did something, and if I would have to protect myself from female vengeance. As Kushina covered her mouth so she wouldn't burst out laughing, Mikoto looked amused, but she looked down towards the ground. Mikoto got up as she walked towards Naruto at a casual pace. I was just about to get ready to talk to Kushina about the contract actually. It's broken, she said. Did it all end okay, said Naruto. Yes, but for a little while it was difficult. It seems that there was something she wasn't telling him. Do you want to talk about it, he said. Yes, but I would like a hug first. As Naruto paused, you want a hug before you would tell me anything? Blasphemy, he said. His teasing was a good idea, she smiled. Look at that smile. Fine, said Naruto. Get over here. As he opened his arms, she moved towards him rather quickly. As she wrapped her arms around him in a tight hug. As Minato gasped, Kushina squealed as a red and yellow flash quickly appeared right beside them. Oh yeah, kinda forgot about them, Naruto said. But guys, be in subs right here. If you want the next person to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on the bell notification, stay posted, but I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.